Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers once again without Mick Cornett. He should be here in about 2 to 3 weeks joining us for some more shows, but we've got some interesting shows in his absence, and today is no exception. We have the new United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma, Sandy Coates, going to come talk to us about what's going on in his office, what his aspirations are, his goals and desires for that position. We have brought you U.S. attorneys from the Western District before. We brought you a show with Robert McCampbell. We brought you a show with John Richter. And now the new U.S. attorney in town is Sandy Coates. And we're going to be visiting with him on The Verdict in just a second. So we're going to take a break right now, but hang in here with us. We'll be right back with the U.S. attorney.
Natural gas is the gateway to a better world of energy. Instead of waiting, natural gas moves us forward now. Instead of finding ways to make dirty energy cleaner, natural gas simply is cleaner. We can use it to create our own energy, a wealth of new jobs, and keep more money here at home. Learn more at chk.com. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
And welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers joined on the set today by Sandy Coates, the new United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma, no longer an Assistant United States Attorney. Sandy did his undergraduate work at Tulane in New Orleans, did his law work at the University of Oklahoma, was in private practice with the very fine Oklahoma City Tulsa firm of Feller Snyder for about 5 years, and in 2004 joined the United States Attorney's Office as an Assistant United States Attorney. Had about a 6-month tour of duty, if you will, in New Orleans after Katrina, trying to help the Justice Department down there get squared away, and has been active here back in Oklahoma City in many civic and bar activities, including the very successful and well-attended Federal Bar Association meeting, which took place this last fall. This is your second visit to The Verdict, and we're really glad to have you back, Sandy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us what's going on. Congratulations on being the U.S. Attorney.
Thank you
Is
very
it
much.
exciting?
It is. It's been an interesting process. You know, the president was elected in late 2008, sworn in January of 2009, and went through the confirmation nomination process. Seemed to take a long time, but then once I got the word, it's gone very quickly.
Well, I just noted in your bio that you were confirmed on December 24th.
That's right.
Quite an interesting day to be confirmed. A lot was going on in Oklahoma City on December 24th.
That's right, and I happened to be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana with my wife's family for Christmas, and got the call that morning. I joked for a few months that I thought I was stuck behind health care on the Senate agenda, and indeed I was. They voted on our nominations right after they voted on health care.
Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, although your dad will probably kick me for saying it at all, but you are the son of Andy Coates.
That's right.
The dean of the OU Law School, and a partner of mine for more years than I want to divulge. You come from a rich tradition of public service, then.
We do. It runs in our family. My dad certainly, but my mother's been a teacher for for more than 40 years, which I consider probably the most important public service. But it provided for me a great basis for attaining the goals and the opportunities that have been presented.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because a fellow with your record and abilities could do just about anything you want to do, and you've chosen to go into law enforcement or public service. Why did you do that as opposed to perhaps a more lucrative, financially lucrative private practice?
Well, I think there's several reasons. One was, I was with the Feller-Snyder firm for about 5 years. Enjoyed that time.
A bunch of good people there.
They are. It's a good firm. I want to be a trial lawyer, and basically in those 5 years I tried 1.5 cases, and they just don't go to trial very much. And personally, one of the things that drew me to the U.S. Attorney's Office was the opportunity to try cases. And in my more than 5 years as an assistant, I was able to try more than 15 jury trials, which was a great experience. But on the other, also, to serve and try to help basically the people of the Western District of Oklahoma through criminal prosecution is something that was very attractive to me as well.
Well, now let's talk just a minute. We've told our viewers this before, but we'll refresh their memory. The Western District has, what, like 40 counties in Oklahoma?
That's right. It's 40 counties of Western Oklahoma. It runs basically includes Stillwater and Shawnee, and then everything west to the Panhandle. It consists of about 1.8 million people. It's the largest district of the 3 in the state of Oklahoma, and about 1.2 million of those live within the Oklahoma City metropolitan area.
What were you doing in the U.S. Attorney's Office before you were named boss? What kind of work were you? said you had some jury trials. What kind of cases were you trying?
I was very, very fortunate under, you mentioned Robert McCampbell and John Richter, my 2 predecessors, to do almost everything in the office on the criminal side. I started in what we call the major crimes group. My first major investigation and cases were a long investigation into child prostitution here in central Oklahoma. And those were tough cases, but obviously very rewarding in that we sought and obtained justice for lots of child victims.
Any of the jury trials you tried have to do with that?
They did. I had two trials with in that what we called Stormy Nights investigation, and including one with Robert McCampbell, who was the U.S. Attorney at the time. Then I had the opportunity to go upstairs in our office to the 6th floor to the violent crime group, and did violent crime prosecution, drugs, and a lot of gun crimes, and did that for a couple of years. Took that detour to New Orleans, you mentioned, and helped them out, I hope, with their violent crime and drug prosecutions down there for a term of 6 months.
Well, let's talk about your tour in New Orleans.
Sure.
Just a minute. Was their office just completely destroyed, like so many things?
The office itself actually did well physically. Those not too familiar with the way the storm came in, it wasn't the river that flooded, it was the lake, and the storm surge came from the north. So the old part of the city, the French Quarter and the sort of downtown, really fared very well. Now, they were displaced for a lot of months and mostly ran that's the Eastern District of Louisiana out of New Orleans. They ran that office out of Baton Rouge for many months, and a lot of the staff was scattered all over the country. About 18 months after the storm, an email went out nationwide asking folks if they could come down for a detail. And my wife and our 3 children, including our then 3-week-old son, loaded up, and we went and spent 6 months down there.
Well, did that office lose contact with witnesses and all because of all the displacement?
Not too bad. It was really remarkable. Jim Letton, the U.S. Attorney, he's currently still the U.S. Attorney, and I think he's going to retain his job, is my understanding, as of now at least. Their story is remarkable, the way they did handle the situation. There was a federal courthouse in another city that they were able to go ahead and they were up and running within a number of weeks and prosecuting cases. It was really remarkable work.
Let me ask you about your selection as U.S. Attorney. You have a nomination, I guess, and then a confirmation process. Talk about the confirmation process a little bit. What happened?
Well, It was, I didn't have as much involvement necessarily as I thought I would. It was a lot of paperwork. I did meet with the Attorney General, which was a wonderful experience, and a lot of the leadership in the Department of Justice. Once that sort of vetting process was completed, it went back to the White House, and the White House sent the nomination to the Senate. The Senate's very, very busy, I understand that, and it went to the Judiciary Committee. Our Senator Tom Coburn is on that committee, and they took up the nomination in turn. I was very pleased and honored for his support and for the support of Senator Inhofe as well. Even though it's a different party, they expressed their approval and support of my nomination. I got out of the committee on it was in November, and then it sat on the Senate docket for about a month, and then, as you said, Christmas Eve, they voted.
Quite a Christmas present.
It was unexpected.
Well, we need to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some other interesting things. We're visiting with Sandy Coates, the new United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma. You're watching The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I'm Beulah Shavney, and I'm an original member of the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, and I'm Chickasaw. I worked at the Phoenix Indian Hospital for a year, and then there was the war. I felt like it was my duty I wanted in the Army, so I made it, got in, and it was a good feeling to put that uniform on. We were one of a kind that started something, and finished it. To see these women go in today, they are really doing a great job. And I'm very proud to look back now and see that I was one of the first ones of the Army that went in. There is just something that stands out about Chickasaw women. They want to go as far as they can go and succeed. I've got to do my best because I'm Chickasaw.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma Realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, with the technology that's being developed every day, it would be difficult to get much better than it is now, but I anticipate that it will.
Technology is always going to improve. It's always going to get better, and as it does, these fields will give up more and more of their natural resources.
I think with technology and the way they're doing it, it'll be a good, clean, environmental place, and I'm blessed to be here.
The oil and gas industry runs deep in our history and gives us a sense that we have a really strong future ahead of us.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers. Mick Cornett's not here, but we'll be back in about 2 to 3 weeks. We're visiting today with Sandy Coates, the new United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma. We've been talking a little bit about what Sandy did before he became the U.S. Attorney, when he was simply an assistant U.S. Attorney, and we talked about some of the things you did. You also had some white-collar crime experience, did you not?
I did. It was very beneficial for me. After I got back from New Orleans, the U.S. Attorney, John Richter, asked me to head up the major crimes group, which I did as chief for about a year. And then they had an opening in white collar or economic crime, and I asked to be moved over there, and they agreed. And so I spent about a year to 18 months with financial crime, white collar type crime as well. So I really got a good sort of overall experience in at least what the criminal side does in our office.
Well, let's talk about your office a little bit. What size law firm, if you will, do you have?
It's interesting you say that. It is kind of like a law firm. There are 93 districts in the United States. We're considered a medium-sized district. There are 37 assistant United States attorneys split up.
37 lawyers.
37 lawyers.
That's a medium to large size law firm in Oklahoma.
That's right. That's right. And we have about 40 to 50 staff to go along with them, so roughly about 90 people in the office.
Are they all in Oklahoma City?
All in Oklahoma City, yes, and split up into 2 divisions. We have a criminal division, which is the bulk of the lawyers, about 27 or 28 U.S. attorneys in that, assistant U.S. attorneys in that division, and about 9 in the civil division as well.
Now, what type of work were you handling in white collar? Is that financial fraud, bank fraud, and the like?
Right, exactly. And we had a couple of cases involving embezzlement from a publicly traded company here in the state. Handled a large advance fee scheme case that FBI and others were involved in, and the IRS were involved in prosecuting. And so, you know, the more financial type, non-violent type cases is what they do.
It's been kind of surprising to me, I don't know why, but just because I didn't realize these things still went on undetected, but the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, of course, was massive and of international scope, but we occasionally have those types of things around here, do we not?
Absolutely.
Has that fallen under your jurisdiction?
Absolutely, yeah. We do quite a few of those type, advance fee or Ponzi scheme type.
Oh, that's the same thing?
Well, they're a little bit different, but it's the same general idea, you know, getting money up front for promises down the road that never materialize.
Yeah.
And and in these economic times, we're actually seeing some more and more of that, as well as you know, mortgage fraud is something that's very, very important for the department nationwide, and we've had some cases here, and we'll continue to work with our law enforcement brothers and sisters to investigate those type of situations.
Well, let's talk about your office under your supervision. What are the major task forces that you've got going now?
Well, number one always for the Department of Justice is going to be national security. After the events, well, we have obviously lots of personal experience with that in Oklahoma after the Murrah bombing, but then 9/11 and the subsequent attacks, we'll never take our eye off national security and keeping the citizens safe. So that's number one. We have a very strong and productive identity theft task force here in Oklahoma City, led by the Secret Service, but with members from a lot of the federal agencies and state and locals. They've done wonderful work in that area. We of course have our drug task force that's very important. We're situated on 3 major interstates across right here in Oklahoma City. So we have lots of, unfortunately, drug trafficking that comes through from the north, south, east, and west. It comes from every direction, and that's a good, led by the department or the DEA.
Has the pardon me, has the drug cartel violence that we read about and hear about, has that occurred in Oklahoma?
It has, absolutely, and we have a strong investigative unit working on gangs here in Oklahoma City. And where there are gangs, there are guns and there are drugs. And we've had great success in the last few years with the Oklahoma City Police Department, with state and locals and the federal law enforcement on combating the cartel and gang activity, violent activity here in central Oklahoma.
What do you consider to be the major challenges for your office?
Well, resources. I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming. We could pick out any of these and do all those and keep ourselves busy 100% of the time. For example, child pornography. It's a terrible problem with the proliferation on the internet. I was involved with crimes against children, as we talked about earlier. Yeah. I was also what we called the Project Safe Childhood coordinator for our district. Project Safe Childhood is a national effort to really target crimes against children on the internet. And if we wanted to, we could fill 37 lawyers' dockets with child pornography. And that's just one example. So, trying to do the best we can to spread our resources where we can be most effective combating crime.
That must be hard to do. How do you figure that out? How do you know whether you ought to have 5 people in child pornography or 10?
We look at the numbers and we try to even it out as much as we can. It's not an easy process, probably not as scientific as it should be, but we can't leave one area neglected to focus on another. We just have to try to, again, spread it out as best we can can figure out.
Of the cases that you bring, how many of them approximately percentage-wise are disposed of by plea as opposed to trial?
Well, I would say, and this is a little bit of a guess, I would say in our criminal cases more than 90% plea. And we have maybe not quite that many, maybe in the 80s percent. We do have almost a 90% conviction rate on the cases that are charged. And it varies as to type of crime. You know, we have what we call more reactionary crime, a violent crime or a drug crime, someone gets arrested. We also have more a white collar or economic crime where sometimes the investigations go on for a long time. Sometimes the targets of the investigation are well aware that they're being looked at, and so we can negotiate a plea before we have to go to the grand jury and indict someone.
Now, on a typical criminal case that one of your assistants is handling, when it comes to time to negotiate a plea, do you do that, or does the assistant do that?
Well,
how does that happen?
The criminal chief has to approve all of the plea agreements. We have pretty strict guidance from the department on what we can and can't do. It varies a little bit as to the type of crime, but the assistants have a good feel. They're an amazing group of people. We have most of them are, or many of them are career prosecutors. They've been there a long, long time, and so I have so much trust in them to reach the proper outcome. And a little bit different than the state system, the federal system, we don't negotiate sentencing. Sentencing is still left up to the judge. So all we negotiate or try to work out a plea agreement is as to the statute or the crime that they'll plead to, and then we can recommend things to the judge, but ultimately the judge decides what the sentence will be.
But insofar as the exercise of prosecutorial discretion, that still is within your jurisdiction.
It is. It is.
And is that easy to handle or difficult to handle?
You know, you said the typical case. I don't know what the typical case is necessarily.
And certainly I don't either.
Right. They seem to all be different. But again, with the experience and the knowledge that these folks have, I'd say we get to the right result most of the time.
What do you see happening in the future in your office, or problems you'll be faced with that perhaps you're not faced with now?
One of the main initiatives or focuses of this department, and therefore this office as well, will be with the Indian country and our Native American population. This is something the Attorney General himself is very, very interested in, and feels as if a lot of those areas have been neglected for many, many years. Again, we deal with issues of resources. Our situation in Oklahoma is quite different than other states. We have 21 federally recognized tribes in the Western District of Oklahoma. A lot of our other jurisdictions have far fewer tribes but more reservation land. And with a very small exception, we don't have reservation land in Oklahoma. We have Indian trust land.
Right.
And with 21 tribes and what you might describe as a checkerboard of Indian trust land, it presents unique challenges to us. We work very closely with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA. There are about 43,000 acres of tribal land in western Oklahoma and a handful of BIA agents. So you can see the challenges that they face.
Yeah, that must be huge. I don't know how you handle it all. Sandy, we're out of time. But thank you so much for coming, and I want to wish you the best of luck in your new job. You're certainly well qualified, and we're sure pleased you'd give us your time this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. You've been watching Sandy Coates, the new United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma. We'll be right back.
It's time to meet the new people in power.
The people responsible for our energy future.
It's you.
It's me. All of us together.
From now on, we're the people in power.
OG&E will supply the power. It's how we apply the power that counts.
We've got to use electricity smarter,
Wiser.
cleaner,
Better.
So we've got to be informed,
Equipped.
prepared,
committed.
From now on, look, nobody wants to waste energy.
Nobody wants to build new power plants.
Nobody wants to pay more for electricity.
But nobody wants to give up their way of life.
We don't have to.
If we just use positive energy together.
I'll take advantage of off-peak hours.
That means cutting energy use from 1 to 7 every day.
Every day. I'm going to sign up for more and more wind power.
We'll take advantage of the high-tech tools coming soon from OG&E.
OG&E can't do it alone.
It's you and OG&E working together.
Find dozens of ways you can help at OGE.com.
A positive energy future is in our power. Together.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Thanks so much for joining us today and getting to hear from Sandy Coates, the new United States Attorney. Next week, you'll hear from the Oklahoman of the Year, Ramona Paul.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.